I knew I shouldn't have given my dog a beach ball to play with, and yet there is now plastic everywhere, and I only have myself to blame.
Yeah, you do. I remember when life was like a Twilight Zone episode. Now it's like a Christopher Nolan movie where I have absolutely no idea what's going on.
You know what I miss? I miss rain. What is rain like? By the way, I will complain about rain as soon as it starts raining.
I almost crashed my car eating a huge piece of cake. Not a terrible last meal, though.
Good way to go out. Have such a good day. Hello, world, and welcome to Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants you to do just
Just Hey, friends.
Hi.
How you doing? How you doing out there?
How are y'all?
I hope you're staying cool. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's really cold out where you are. Where are you exactly?
Yeah,
Do
are
tell.
you on the North Pole? And is there Santa?
Which hemisphere? Sarah, Santa is actually not a real thing. I don't know if you know that.
Heather. Heather, my God. Oh, wait. This is just reminding me that I don't remember what the show was. It was, it was some show that someone else had watched, and they were like, it was kind of effed up because they said that Santa wasn't real in the show.
Well, I just
And it was
did
like
that.
a show that like kids would watch. And like there were like all these kids like kind of looking up like, what does she mean by that?
I was totally kidding kids out there. Oh my God, Santa's so
Yeah,
real. And
Santa's
the
so real.
elves and comes down the chimney. Gotta leave cookies for him though. That I know for sure.
I think, barring the fact that we may have lots of, young children watching the show, we probably
Which I
don't.
doubt.
Probably not, but
Probably not. But they're always welcome.
of course, anytime. But we're gonna be, we're gonna be really candid on the show. And I do actually remember as a kid, when I learned about Santa. I remember it very well because
How old were you?
I mean, I think I was probably a little older than some other kids because, I like to play make believe, but like I was under 10 kind of thing, or maybe right around that age. And, it was Christmas and, my parents always, they made a big deal about Christmas, and Christmas was like super fun, and we had a big tree, and, it was my favorite time of the year. And there was a Christmas morning where all the presents were opened, and and I always kind of got everything that I wanted, because my parents are awesome.
Because you were
And
spoiled. I'm just kidding.
yeah, I mean, we were pretty
I was mildly
poor.
spoiled too.
We were pretty poor, but I think they went out of their way to make sure that if there was this one thing I really wanted, that I would get it kind of
Yeah,
for Christmas.
totally.
And I said, well, after it was all over, there's just like wrapping paper everywhere. I said, well, one really weird thing about this is that Santa didn't give me anything this year. He just didn't come. And my parents were like, they kind of look at me like, what? Because there were lots of little cards like from mom and dad, or from dad, like maybe it would be something that, he knew that I would like, that would have been from him specifically, or from like an aunt or an uncle. And they just forgot to say that anything was from Santa. They just forgot. And I already knew.
Yeah, totally.
And they were like, "Oh no!" And I was like, "It's okay. I already know. I already know." And it was like a weird like manipulative thing I did to my parents, because I'm like, I already knew that was going to be from you anyway, but I just kind of like, we hadn't said it out loud. And that was the end of that.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's my fun Santa story.
I like it. And show is not necessarily going to be airing on Christmas or anything, but when you start feeling that sense in the air that the seasons are changing, it makes you think about Christmas, and you think about wintertime and cozy fires indoors. Sarah, I have to say, I feel really special because I found one of the last little lime trees in Humboldt County. I planted a lime tree, a Mexican lime tree. I literally got the last one. And I guess apparently there's a
What do you mean
huge
you got the
demand for
last one?
them.
Like, where was it?
It was at like the main nursery in town.
Oh,
But
okay.
like
Got it.
apparently I mean, it's so funny hearing about like all the supply chain stuff and just like with COVID and it's hard to get appliances and wood and all the things and actually, service workers, waitresses, waiters, all of that. And it's just funny when you hear about such a like fringy thing, like having like such a high demand for something that you would have never even thought. Why are people why are people so obsessed with lime trees right now? Why am I obsessed with lime trees? What is it, some subliminal message that I got? I don't know. But I'm really excited about my little lime tree. It's super cute and I planted it in a barrel because here's the thing. I feel like I always could use a slice of lime just often, with whatever I'm cooking or in my like sparkling water or something. And it's like, I don't want to go all the way to the store to get one lime. It would be a nice thing, kind of like having herbs, right out front. Pick a little sprig of cilantro real quick instead of having to like go to the store and get a bunch of cilantro.
Oh, for
So
sure. You
I'm
save
super excited
money.
about
It's
this. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
way
great.
easier. We've got we don't have a lime tree on the property I live on, but we do have a Meyer lemon tree.
Oh, we
And
have one
it's
too.
it's it's a little dormant, because it's more of like a winter
Yeah.
citrus tree.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are times where I'm just like, I have like 15 lemons. Because I gotta pick them before they drop. Like somebody's gotta eat them.
Yep.
And I always tell the Airbnb guests around here, I'm like, if it's the right season, I'm like,
Take some
go
lemons.
nuts on the
Yeah.
tree. Yeah, like I mean, I single-handedly cannot eat all these lemons,
Yeah.
but I love them. Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's so great to have a lemon tree. Oh, it makes a huge difference because lemons are like, I feel like they're like $1.50 each or something. I mean, it's not like I can't afford a lemon. It's just kind of crazy. I'd just rather pick one off my tree. But that makes me think about all of next year I have to think of ways because I give friends and people, some of my crop because I can't eat it all, but I can't keep up with it. Like we have so many peaches on our trees right now. And I mean, I can't even get to half of them because they're so high at the top.
Millions of peaches.
And, eventually the birds will eat them all. But I feel bad. It's like people are like, just cut them up and freeze them. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Like that. I mean, the extent that I've gone to really preparing food for the future is like pickling things, and then my
Right.
boyfriend's like, well, make a pie. I'm like, I'm not really sure I'm a pie baker kind of person, but I really,
Right,
next
right.
year, I want to
Yeah,
like,
it gets to the point where you're like, I don't want to do this with the fruit
no.
that's about to go bad. I just want it not to go bad.
Exactly. And I do feel good. That's why I'm like, with this bear visitor that I had recently, I want I'd like to share the wealth. I'd like to share the apples with the bear community and same with the peaches if they're into those. And like, I've got so many cherry tomatoes that are just dying on the vine because there's only so much I can like snack on those, and make pasta. I mean, it's
Right,
just all
right.
of this stuff is going to waste. If you lived closer, Sarah, I would bring you some.
Oh, thank you, Heather. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
We were Heather and I were talking about blackberries before the show, and blackberry bushes are they're sort of big and unwieldy and
They
everything,
are
but when it's blackberry season, it's like I mean you pick a blackberry off of it and you eat it, and it's
a
so
scrumptious
good.
treat.
But at least around where I am, there are a lot of blackberry bushes. We don't have any on the
They like the
property
heat.
itself, but there are a lot of blackberry bushes. They tend to be kind of like roadside bushes.
Yeah, totally. And they're all
And
dusty and yeah.
yeah, and there are times where I'm walking my dog, and I see like these like beautiful big plump blackberries, but it's like lots of cars have gone by and just like ugh, like the blackberries need to be washed. And so I would have to like bring like a pail with me, get all of them, go home, wash them, and then enjoy them, which is fine, But sometimes tend to just be like, too hard.
Oh, totally. And I don't know. It's funny because we have a lot of blackberries right now, but we also have a lot of blueberries and strawberries and raspberries. And I'm like, I go for like the strawberries first and like the raspberries and blueberries. Like I prefer those berries. I'm not saying that blackberries are disgusting because you can get a really good one, but
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know. They just
They're
haven't
not
been
your
my
favorite?
favorite. No, not right now. I don't know what it is. Maybe
I think
they're
blackberries are actually my favorite.
really out of all
Blueberries,
those
blueberry,
berries.
blueberries, love them. Raspberries, love them. But a good blackberry that's so soft. Oh,
Melts in your
yum.
mouth. See, I'm a strawberry girl, I think. Like a good strawberry. Oh, we have oh my gosh, our strawberries. And the thing about strawberries is that, well, a lot of berries in general, you really want to try to get them from like farmers markets because when you get it from a supermarket, they're not as good and the strawberries go bad really quick, like they'll get moldy. And when you pick something off of a bush, off of a vine, oh my gosh, I mean it's like the experience is so different than buying a basket from the grocery store.
Oh,
They
for
taste so
sure.
much better.
Well, that's, tomatoes too.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Having grown up with, my parents grew tomato vines. And so we just, yeah, like ate off the land,
Yep.
as much
Oh,
as
it's
we
so great.
could. I will eat a strawberry, a tomato now and be like, this is tasteless.
Oh,
Like
totally.
it doesn't suck, but like it doesn't taste the way it's supposed to taste.
Well,
You gotta
partially
grow it yourself.
you got to grow it. And the thing is think about the nutrients are going from the vine or wherever it's getting its nutrients, like off the tree or the bush or whatever. And then you have to pick it. And then it has to be trucked super far to get to the grocery store. I mean, it makes sense. It's like when you pick something
Yeah.
off right away, it's like it's gotten the ample nutrients, hence the flavor. It's like, I think like the nutrients equal the flavor kind of thing. But what do I know? I've read some books, but
I think you probably know more than the average person about
I might.
growing
I might.
about growing, fruits and vegetables
I
at
got
this
dirt
point or
under my
another.
fingernails.
Yeah, oh gosh, so do I. In fact, I was looking at them earlier and I was like, God damn it. My nails are gross.
Oh, mine are
And
so
I wash my hands like a million times a day.
I know, me
And still
too.
I'm like, where did it come from?
That's what I hate. And they get so thin, like when you wash them too much and, I'm just using my hands a lot. So I can't, like my nails just thin out. It's a
Yeah.
bummer. But I think I would take some of the work that I do with my hands over being like a nail person. I sometimes miss having like cute nails, but that's for another lifetime.
Oh, so many things are. So many things are. Well, listen, so everybody, we thought that because we talk about the fact that Heather and I are both property managers on the show very often, every episode, in fact, it always creeps in.
You either love
And
it or you hate it.
you love it or you hate it, and there are good things and bad things about it. And so we thought, let's just dedicate this episode to that.
I love it. Airbnb follies, if you will.
Yeah, and we've sort of joked about the fact that this is a show that could write itself. It could be a whole separate show. And my thing is always that I never want to call anybody out too
No.
specifically because I just wouldn't ever want them to like hear the episode and be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe Sarah did that to me,"
Sure,
kind
of
of thing.
course.
Even though they probably will never hear it, but just kind of keeping it a little surface. But there's still so much to talk about, even if we do keep it surface. And the first thing I wanted to talk about on that note is the fact that people leave the weirdest things behind when they it's time for them to go. For example, this morning I had a group that had been here for 7 nights, so quite, they were living here. And it's so funny because our checkout is 10 a.m. And I often, people will ask me like, "Hey, can I check out a little bit later or whatever?" And like the answer is either yes or no, depending on like the cleaning schedule and whatever. But I try to accommodate when I can. And they didn't ask me. And they actually left early. They left at 9. And on the days where people are leaving, it's like Otis and I are sitting in the apartment, my blinds are still down, and I can kind of hear every like car doors are opening and closing, and I'm like, okay, they're getting ready to go. But then sometimes like I'm like, okay, I think they're leaving right now, which is great. And then like they'll be like, oh, let's take some photos over by the redwood trees, because we had like such a nice vacation. And so you're like, okay, they're here for a little bit more. And I can't do anything before 10 a.m. because they have until then. It's their house. I can't just be like, get out of here. I would never do that. But and this is just, I mean, I've done this like 100 times at this point. I don't even know. It's always different. And you always, once they leave, and oftentimes they're like multiple cars. And so when the last car leaves, I'm like, okay, now we're good. And this also, when there are Airbnb guests here, Otis can't just like, I don't just like open the front door and he roams around. Like he has to stay with me. Like we're either, he's leashed, we're going on a walk, or we're getting in my car, we're going somewhere else. Like he doesn't have the yard to himself. So when he does, he kind of always looks at me like, is it okay? And I'm like, it's okay. No one's here anymore, And then he kind of runs around, sniffs, and it's really cute. But one of my favorite things is to go into the kitchen, the main kitchen of the main house. There's two kitchens because there's two different houses, but the main house has like the big kitchen. And open up the fridge and see what's left. And like, and often it's like nothing,
Yeah.
And over time, especially because like people love, grilling and, hot dogs, hamburgers. So it's like we have like 40 kinds of mustards and so many ketchups. And some of the ketchups are like totally empty, but then there's like more ketchup because people bought it before they got here kind of thing, where I'm just like, okay, we have to get rid of some of the stuff. But it's sort of salad dressing, like obvious stuff. And then sometimes there's like a gallon of milk where I'm like, you bought a gallon of milk and you just never opened it?
And then you have to like throw it away in the garbage and
Yeah, it's like kind of like icky, but
Such
like,
a
I
waste.
look at the expiration date and I'm like, if the seal is not broken, I'll just leave it because somebody might want milk, the next person who's here. But if it is open, that changes things because then people are like, ew, it's kind of gross. And, the same thing with eggs. It's like, I mean, eggs in a fridge are fine for like way after their expiration date. Trust me, I know. But like if you see like it's like a carton of eggs and like there are like four left, as a new guest, you might be like, why is this here? Kind of thing. So you kind of have
kinda
to
weird.
somebody like me has to sort of navigate that like,
Sure.
okay, is like there's something I'm like, can I take it? Could I donate it maybe to like a food bank or something?
Do you ever get good stuff?
Well, I mean, yeah, actually, sometimes so for example, people who left this morning, and they were real nice. I'll give them a nice review. But I opened the fridge and I'm like, holy shit, this fridge is packed. Like, they didn't throw out anything. But none of it was like gross stuff. It was like, yeah, a whole carton of eggs, a half and half container that wasn't opened, two bottles of rosé, like
Oh, nice.
five,
Score.
yeah, like 5 cans of like, I don't know, weird IPA beer type of thing. Like where I'm like,
Nice.
I mean, I'll just leave it for the
Yeah.
next person because that isn't gross to
No.
me. If I were to show up at this house tomorrow and be like, "Oh, wow, look, an IPA can of beer that no one opened, like it's not like half drunk or anything." Like, I mean, like, maybe I'll give it a try kind of thing. Like that's fine. But it also is a little bit lazy, where I'm like, "What did you guys do? You
Yeah.
bought so much stuff that you just didn't get through."
You
I guess that's
overbought.
just par for the course. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I wonder how much stuff is wasted. I mean, that's a whole thing. I mean, hopefully people, or at least Airbnb hosts, I don't know, hotels with refrigerators, I mean, they give them to charity or something, because it is kind of gross when you think about how much stuff gets wasted.
Oh, for sure. And I actually, so we have like I'm sure you do this too, Heather, but when someone has booked the house and before they're gonna get here, a few days before, I send them like the welcome document, which is like, here's the code to get in the gate, here's, the keys, here's the whole deal with the pool, here's, it's a long thing. And they selectively read it, of course, and then ask me lots of stupid questions afterwards. But part of that, I say, is, there's like a checkout area of the document where it's like, here's what, we need you to do on checkout, strip the beds and, run the dishwasher and, do stuff before you go. And part of that is because so many people, I would look in the garbage after someone left and I would just be like, I mean, it was like an entire, like pack of arugula that like wasn't even opened, and like, why'd you throw it out? Like, I mean, it's not necessarily for me, but it's just such a waste.
It's such a waste. And the plastic, it's not even just the food waste. It's like you basically produced all this plastic to cover this one bag of arugula, and it's like it didn't even get eaten. It's like it got thrown, it's just straight in the garbage.
Yeah, and like they didn't
Makes me
even
crazy.
like open it and put it in the compost, which is what they should have done.
Yeah.
Right? So I added a little note to, the guest welcome doc that was like, if you have perishable food, throw it out. If you don't have perishable food and you don't want to take it with you, leave it. And, either like one of the cleaners will take it. I will donate it to a food bank. There is one near me that I have donated to, and they were like so thankful in the past. Just don't throw out perfectly good food. Just don't do it. Like, I get it if it's not, it's sort of picked through or whatever. It's like, okay, that's kind of over.
Yeah.
But just don't do it. And and I feel like the last guests took that very literally, and they were like, we're leaving everything. And I'm like, not all of this is really the category that I was talking about, but yeah, perfectly good food here. So,
Yep.
Thank you for not throwing it out, I guess.
What else do you find? Do you find anything kind of scandalous?
Oh my God. What have I found? I found lots of scandalous things. Condoms for days.
Oh, I'm sure.
Uh, Not birth control. What is it when you take a
You mean a morning after pill?
not a morning after pill? No, just like a pregnancy test. God, I don't know where my mind
funny.
is. Lots of those.
Wow.
Yeah, like not like one or two, like quite a few. Where I'm like,
Wow.
okay, somebody was having fun and got a little scared, but then like forgot about their pregnancy test and left it in a drawer.
And it wasn't even opened?
No, no.
That's a waste of, I mean, those things aren't cheap.
I mean, I'm sure some of them get used and then they get thrown away, and I don't see them. I'm not like combing through our trash all that carefully. But yeah, like full on just sex stuff. And that's great. Like there were like some like contact lenses that people left behind, where it's like, as a wearer of contact lenses now, I'm like,
You're like,
that's
what's
expensive.
prescription?
You're right. Yeah, like
Would they fit my eyes?
yeah, like what? You really just love them, because
Yeah.
people just put things in drawers and then forget. What people also do, and I want to chalk this up to when when you're packing up, and I mean the people who are here are often, I mean, it's almost always families with young kids. Sometimes it's all adults, but like it's families, and you got kids running around and parents, and you figure the packing up process is a whole thing. And so I don't think that people necessarily are stealing anything from us. However, we used to have, I mean, we're going on like maybe 10 iPhone chargers at this point.
Wow.
All gone.
God.
Just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems
And I
like an
had-
easy thing to think that it's yours, though.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you're like, oh, hey, mom, can you like deal with this room? And the mom does and like packs the,
Yeah,
just like,
exactly.
oh, the cords, it's ours.
Yeah.
So, we've kind of gotten to the point now where we don't offer that anymore. Like bring your
Yeah.
own. And I had a guest not that long ago who was like, we forgot our iPhone chargers. You I probably have some somewhere. And I was like, nope, we don't.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, what do we do? And I was like, you
Go buy
can go to
one.
the store and buy one. Yeah. And then
You
it's
can
yours.
Yeah, you can
And
you
you
can
take
get
it
them at
with
a lot
you.
of like corner stores and stuff now. I think you
Oh, yeah,
can
for
even get them at
sure.
like drugstores.
But it's one of those things where it's like, well, we tried to offer that as a perk, but they just kept walking away.
Yeah.
So, at some point you go, sorry, you're on your own on this, bud.
Yeah, it's funny. Most of the time when people leave stuff, it'll be like, you know, I don't know, grass-fed beef in the freezer or something. Something just they were planning on grilling, but then they didn't kind of thing. And then, I give it to the housekeeper or something. And but most of the time it's like a raincoat or actually like a phone charger, a lot of like wires and adapters and that kind of thing. And then, you have to go to the post office and send them their things if you're a nice person. But a lot of clothes and that's the most, someone left like their like galoshes here once and they don't always follow up. Some people just, I don't even think they realize they left it. But
Yeah, or they just consider it like collateral, like, oh, well, it's gone
yeah,
forever.
exactly. Well, it's funny. It's like there's so much to navigate in this world of Airbnb hosting, Sarah. And I mean, gosh, we could do a whole show on this, but
Well, we are.
we are. I mean, we can do a whole actual
Oh, yeah, like a
podcast.
spin-off
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, not just an episode, but yeah, for sure. But and it's really fascinating stuff. I mean, there's a lot of like nuances and just a lot of stuff like problem solving and things you just have to like you were saying, Sarah, earlier, you have to like make decisions about stuff that even just like what do you do with the food in the refrigerator kind of thing. Like there's small stuff and then there's bigger stuff. And one thing I've been coming across more and more lately is people so we have a no pet policy and it's pretty strict and it's for a reason. My dad set it up, but the reason I mean, I love animals more than humans, and most of you know that by now because all I do is talk about animals. Haha.
Heather the bear whisperer.
I am the bear whisperer. No, I love certain humans, don't get me wrong, including our patrons, but I would love to have any and all animals rent the place at any time, but unfortunately there's fleas and there's fur and there's dander. So we just can't risk upsetting like the next guest. I mean, it makes sense. But I always feel bad because I love dogs and most of the time people are like, oh, we have a tiny, really small little dog and they don't, they don't bark and they have hypoallergenic fur and they're always trying to convince me that their dog is like the best dog and like the best behaved dog. And it's like, that's all great, really. Like, I love that. I would love to meet your dog. It sounds so cute, but I'm so sorry, but we just can't. But the only time that it gets really dicey is when they say they have a service dog. And it's either, like a legit service dog for kind of a physical ailment, or there's like the emotional service dog. And so I wouldn't say that I'm extremely knowledgeable about all of it. But in the research that I have done, I've had, several people say like book it, like they'll instantly book it. So they're already booked in the calendar. And then days later, and often the day before they show up, they tell me, oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you, we're bringing our service dog. And then you're like, oh, shit, like, kind
Yeah,
of not really,
yeah.
can't really do that, but they're already booked. Like, what do I do? And I love animals. This is really tricky territory. But what I have read about is that you legally cannot inquire into the situation. You're not even really allowed to ask for proof. People get really weird, but you're just not supposed to.
Right.
It's really strange situation that puts these hosts into, yeah, like it's sort of like a moral dilemma because of course it's like you want to accommodate them, and especially if it's a service dog, obviously it's a very important animal. But at the same time, last time that happened, our place was an absolute sty. In fact, this was only a few days ago, and this exact thing happened. people booked in advance. And then the day before, they said they had a service animal. I didn't ask any questions. And I thought, all right, well, we'll take the risk, because I just didn't want to like backpedal the whole thing. And my housekeeper was not happy. It was a total sty. They had the dog sleep inside the bed. So like all the bedding was just totally disgusting. It smelled like dog. It was like the hairiest, biggest, full of dander dog you can ever imagine. Like it was kind of shocking, because you would think, sometimes you won't really notice it. Like it's a small dog, and they make a really light footprint kind of thing. But, you can't win them all, Sarah. And you just kind of have to like roll with it and do the best you can. And, I really think a lot of the producer kind of being quick on your feet, kind of like problem solving thing comes into play a lot, because oftentimes there'll be some emergency or like something will happen and you have to like make a quick decision.
Totally.
And that's, you're making the best decisions you can at the time. And hopefully there won't be much fallout.
Yeah. So on the service dog tip, I don't think there's actually been any service dogs here. I mean, that I knew about anyway. But I definitely, we also don't allow dogs. And the whole reason is not because we don't like dogs, but, you just, first of all, I have a dog, and my dog is super chill, and like, he's on a leash in common areas, if anyone's staying here, and it's like, it's not a big deal. But like, I've had guests who have brought dogs without asking, and like their dog is like up on my porch barking kind of thing.
Totally.
Where you're like, whoa, like calm down, like there are other people living here type of thing. We also we had, and I feel like I may have told the story because I was so mad at these people, but we had these people that had booked sort of last minute. And so with Airbnb, and I know it's different with other systems, but with Airbnb specifically, you can say things like, not only that you can't allow dogs, but like it's a certain amount of night minimum. And here it's a 5-night minimum. If you're not going to stay for 5 nights, we don't want you, because you're going to come, you're going to make a big mess, and we have to pay the cleaners, and it actually doesn't work out financially.
Yeah.
It's like we want people who want to stay like a week-ish or longer kind of thing. And that said, sometimes last minute where I'm like, there's a little break in the schedule, like, and someone asks me, because they can inquire, they can at least say like, hey, I know that kind of your calendar looks sort of full, but like maybe. And I had let these people come, and they came and they threw a party, and they had a DJ and all the things that just we don't want from guests. It was just like, I mean, they weren't like, they really did like shut it down early enough so that like I wasn't going to call the police or anything. But I was just like, oh my gosh, you guys just broke every rule in the house. We are not, you don't come here to like throw a party and like have loud music and have people be like, let's do shots, which they were doing. And, and they were only here for a few days. They were here for like less than the 5-night minimum. And so I kind of was just like, just get through it. They'll leave. And on the last day, it's time to leave, and checkout's at 10 a.m. That's the checkout time. And they haven't left. And so, and I was done with these people. And so I saw somebody outside with their dog, and I was like, hey, yo, you gotta go. It's time for you to go. And also, we don't allow dogs. Like, where's the dog here? And he kind of looks at me and sort of like smirky, like, this is an emotional support dog, and you're not allowed to kick me out because of the dog. And I was like, I understand that, but you need to leave. All of you need to leave, And I kind of that moment where you're just sort of like, how much of a dick do I want to be right now?
Yeah,
and
totally.
And the answer was like, not really. I actually just wanted them to go, and I didn't want it to be a big standoff of any kind, but like, I don't think so, dude. And like, and it's like, I don't I don't think emotional support dogs are like a bunch of BS. I mean, maybe
No.
sometimes they are, but like, I mean, I feel like my dog emotionally supports me. So it's like, I don't have a problem with that, but just to sort of like sneak something in and not say something to me about it and then act like, I'm putting you out afterwards.
Yeah.
Ah, no.
That's happened to me before where yeah, they try to hide it and then they break all the other house rules and then they're like just jerks about it. And you're like, "Well, I like turned a blind eye to let you bring your dog in, but then you totally screwed me over in all these other ways." And yeah, I mean the thing is like I think that's sort of like maybe the 1%, maybe less than 1%. I do think that it can be really trying just depending on what kind of guest you have, but I feel like people don't want bad reviews. And I mean, the review system, as flawed as it is, it does help. Some people don't care. I've had to write a couple, average reviews because of them breaking so many house rules or whatever. And I think it's important to do that
Right.
because then people don't know that, uh, you know, you have to let people know what you can and can't do. And it helps other guests. But I think that some people, it's so strange to me because some people just don't care if they have a bad review. And I mean, it really hurts you to have that, even one. It like brings your whole rating down and it hurts you for a while, until you can earn like new good ratings. So it's an interesting thing. And,
Yeah.
it can be very thankless. That's for sure.
Yes. Speaking of thankless, so the rating system is very interesting. And just because we're kind of like, we're going all in on property management on this episode, I will remind folks how it works. So when somebody, at least here, so you allow instant booking, Heather. We do not. Someone always has to ask me, can we book? We want to book. This is the time we want to book. And then I kind of look at their whole deal and then I say
Sure.
yes or no. Cannot instant book here.
Well, actually,
So,
just to clarify, I have instant book on Verbo, but Airbnb I have to approve because obviously you wouldn't want to
because
have
you're
instant
using
book on
both of
two platforms,
those.
which I'm gonna have to get rid of one of them. I know, and it's gonna happen, and it'll make my life easier. But for now, that's just the system I have.
That's the system. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always sort of forget that you're dealing with two different
No, like
networks,
three. We
which
have a
like
website too.
I just can't even
It's too much.
imagine.
It's too
I
much. I had
can't
to
even
change three
imagine.
calendars. This guy like reached out this morning and wanted to change his dates for next July. So I had to go into like four calendars to like scratch out his previous dates and then put in his new. I'm like, this is insane. Like this makes no sense. So that is something I need to fix.
Yeah, it is, and I've definitely it's been a huge learning experience, and I always my mom is she sometimes is the recipient of a lot of my strife when it comes to this sort of thing. And my thing to her is always like, you would never know how much I hate you because I'm so nice. I will get you all the toilet paper you want. Oh, do you need an iPhone charger? Maybe I've got one, like an extra one. And inside, I'm like, I hate you. I cannot wait till you leave. It's a very weird thing, and
It's a dance.
it's very much a dance, and it's something that I think about a lot because I live on this property. It's a big old property, and I live, in my own little spot, and I work from home. So I mean, I do go, I go get groceries. I go take my dog to the beach. Like I do come and go, but I'm not like gone all the time. I'm kind of here more than I'm not. And so that's something that guests have to be aware of. But I think because of that, they think that I'm their concierge. Where it's like, the thing with the iPhone charger where I'm like, you should pack better is my answer to you, girlfriend. You're like, what do you want me to just like materialize iPhone chargers for you? Like, go buy one. You forgot yours. And that's sort of like there are certain things where I get sometimes, depending on the day, I get a little bent out of shape about it. But I also have to remember that people come here because they're on vacation. You know, it's a birthday party, it's an anniversary, it's some other, reason that they're escaping wherever they live to like come and like swim and, play music, and the kids run around and, they're blowing bubbles all day and like just like whatever they're doing. It's like this is their escape from whatever wherever they live. But I just live here. And so I kind of live next door to people who are just like partying all the time.
Yep.
And I don't always want to feel that way. you know? It's like sometimes I'm like, I would like a very quiet evening at home, but like the kids are in the pool screaming and, doing cannonballs and stuff like that. It's like, it is, but I don't blame them because they paid for it. That's why they're here. And I want them to have a good time. And so it's that like there's a lot of back and forth that goes on between feeling like, God, just shut up, you people, just shut up. And then but then also wanting them to have like the best time ever because that's the whole point.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know.
Of course.
I don't really know, what the answer is here, but it is a constant struggle. And I also today, the folks who left a lot of the food in the fridge, which I'll probably end up eating, but they left this morning. We don't have more guests for 5 days.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
I have not had a 5-day respite since like January. I mean,
God.
I'm just, yeah, I'm gonna swim naked in the pool. I will. And just, Otis can poop wherever he wants. I'll clean it up afterwards, of course. But it's like, oh, to just have it back to ourselves. And Heather, I don't know if it's like that on your property. I think your property is laid out a little bit differently, where if people are there, you still feel like you have quite a bit of room. But like, I don't really have a lot of room here.
No, and I've
when
been to
other
your
people are
place,
here.
and you're right because you're like perched up a little bit, which is great. I actually think that's a huge plus for you is that you're kind of above the rental house, but you are pretty close. I mean, you're a stone's throw, and I can imagine. I mean, you can hear their music, you can hear things. I mean, hopefully you're not hearing scandalous things, but yeah.
I've never heard, yeah, what prompted Plan B pill. But
Thank goodness. But
but I also
we're
try very hard not to listen.
yeah, totally. And I know you're a lover of earplugs, so and noise canceling headphones are always good. But yeah, I think like so the main house, which was where I live, is at the end of the driveway. So it's like we're the furthest away from the road. We're the most sort of, I guess, private because we have a lot of land on the other side of our house with no rentals, and then we've got like the backside, which is in the backyard, which we've got lots of shrubbery and trees that block us from the first rental, which is the cabin, and they have like their own little sort of biosphere over there, like it's their own little bubble. And then the cottage is next to the cabin, but far enough away. We've got a huge hedge. You can maybe, if you're like really looking for someone, like looking over the cliff, you might be able to see them from the cabin. But from my house, honestly, I rarely have issues. I mean, occasionally I'll hear people talking very distant, like on the cabin deck, but it's not like I don't hear them through the house. Like if I'm outside, I might hear them.
Yeah.
But occasionally, like I'll rent, like we have funny things. Like my dad was really funny about signs. Like he doesn't like to kind of have these, it's like private property and like, private land or whatever, like all those kind of signs you can buy at a hardware store. Like he was never keen on that. And I never really thought about buying signs like that until I moved to the country, because just yesterday it's very busy around here. We've got a car coming down the driveway. I'm going on a walk with my boyfriend and dog, and we're walking down the driveway. And so we move aside to let this woman come through, and she stops and she's like, "Oh, I knew your dad, and we're so happy to be here. It's so beautiful." Had a nice little chat with her, and then she continues on her way. And then a second later, there's a woman just walking behind us on the driveway, which you don't really see all that often. And I figure she's just staying in the other cottage, but no, she's actually staying up the street, and she's trying to watch the sunset to get the ocean view, because we're on a road that goes, south to north. So like we're right on the ocean. And so if you
Yeah.
want to watch the sunset and you're staying on the other side of the road, you're kind of SOL. Like you have to, there aren't really any trails that go down. There's this one kind of rugged trail that I often suggest, but I tell them it's like pretty rugged, to get down to the beach. And so we feel, it feels pretty private. I think sometimes with our regulars, we do have a lot of people who want to chat, like not necessarily hang out and have a cup of coffee, but like sometimes they'll invite me over for a glass of wine, or, just chat with me real quick in the driveway and just, see
Yeah.
how things are going, because they're regulars. They've been coming for 15 years or something. So despite the constant problems that is kind of running these vacation rentals, and the picky guests and all that, there can be some really kind of, I guess, perks to hospitality. And I know that's probably some people are rolling their eyes out there who are in hospitality, but if you haven't seen The White Lotus, that is a good example. But yeah, and I think the perks for me are, I get so much like positive responses and reviews, and people just love these places. I mean, they're really, really popular, especially our little redwood cabin, which is just this like sweet, rustic, cozy, romantic, little house that's going to fall off the cliff eventually, because it's the one that's the closest to the cliff. But that's what makes it so special, because you're kind of like, you have a deck, and it's like, I'm not even joking, it's like less than 10 feet from the cliff. And so you really get that feel of the ocean. Like you're right there with it. And, people
It's like for anybody who's like, that sounds great.
and
Hope you don't fall off
sketchy.
the cliff.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have like a protective, like we had to put kind of like I don't know, it's just like it's not a true fence, but it's definitely, there's some wood there that, it's basically, be really careful. People know that, the cliff drops off, and we have the stairs going down the other side. So the stairs used to actually go straight down to where the cliff is. So we have like definitely put in some safety measures and that kind of thing. But I mean, it's many, 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 many years until it'll, erode that far. But I love the feeling of making such a positive difference in people's lives by giving them a respite, and I use that word respite because I think especially everything now in the world has been so chaotic for so long, all the fires and the disasters and the politics and COVID and everything. These people like profusely thank me. Like I get these sweet notes either written in our little guest book, or they'll write a review on the platform, or they'll send me an email, like really heartwarming stuff where I'm like, oh my God, and I kind of got chills, like, cause they had like the best time of their lives on their like 10-year anniversary or something. And I'm making new friends, and it's kind of a great way to connect to perfect strangers. Sometimes, I think, oh, I love animals more than humans, blah, blah, blah. But when I say that, I mean like sometimes the general public, like people who you don't really know and that are maybe, cutting you off on the road, or, whatever, hunters and people who I don't think I would sort of matriculate with. I just say like the general public of people I don't know. But it does give me hope for humanity when I meet some of these people, because they are good people. They're perfect strangers, but they're very warm and sweet, and they really cared about my dad, and now they care about me, and they really make it known. And I'll chat back and forth with some of them that are regulars. Like we'll talk about, someone will ask me like, what is that yellow bellied bird? It has like that little beak. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I think that might be a warbler. Or like, we'll kind of go back and forth about like, well, what kind of
Yeah.
bird was that? And There's something really sweet, and I look forward to seeing them next year. And they say the same thing. And then the next year rolls around because that's sort of happened because I've been here for a year and a half now. And, they are so happy to see me again. And it's just very sweet. And I get like notes that are really like thanking me for sharing it with the world. So that really makes me feel good. A guy actually made a book about this place and printed it, like a real book, like a hardback book. like,
Yeah, well,
and he,
we don't get anything like that around here. I think a lot of people who have a lot of money being like, we want to have a vacation, and they don't give a
totally,
fuck about
exactly. I
me
think we
once
have
they
definitely a
leave.
different clientele for sure.
Yeah.
And it's a tough job. I won't lie, but, I am glad that we have our own private space and, they don't really wander over to our garden because like we have our veggie garden and, I sometimes would say like, to some of the regulars, I'd be like, go pick some peaches. I'll open it up to them and say, go ahead and go in the garden if you want,
Right, right.
with like the regulars. But,
But
you
otherwise,
know,
it's like there's some boundaries.
there are, and occasionally someone will wander into our backyard. I mean, like once a year. It's very, very rare, and they're like lost or something, and then you have to like guide them back. But yeah, for the most part, I feel like we have privacy.
Yeah, I do as well. I do as well. I mean, people know when they get here who I am and where I live. And I do occasionally, it doesn't happen that often, but occasionally someone will come up to my front door and like knock, knock, knock. And you don't like, I mean, Heather, you've seen my place, but it's like, it's all windows. And like, I could be on the pot and someone could come up to my front
It's like
door
a fishbowl.
and yeah, like depending on like the angle, like they could like kind of see me do, where I'm like, do not come up to my door. Okay? Don't do it. Just give me that. Okay, people? Because I sometimes like to walk around my apartment naked. That's what I like to do. Like I'm not trying to show anything off for y'all,
No,
but
it's just
like
fun to
but
do
if you
that.
come up to my door, it's going to be a problem, or like not necessarily a problem, but just like uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And yeah, and yeah, that happened the other day where I was like, "What do you want?" It was like, "We want the Wi-Fi password," and I'm like, "Oh my God, it was in your
Okay.
welcome letter."
That actually, I wanted to bring that up really quick before we wrap the show up, but I put mine in the welcome letter all the time. I never forget, and I also put a nice piece of paper with magnets on the refrigerator showing it's like right there, like plastered on the refrigerator right in front of
Yeah,
your
like
face.
can't
And
miss it.
I got a woman stopping me when I was outside. Well, what's the Wi-Fi information? And she got it. I checked. She got it in her welcome letter. I double checked that I put it in there. And I always have to tell people it's on the refrigerator. I don't understand how you don't see that. It's so strange. And it's like on the
People are
side. So like
so
right when you walk
weird.
in, it's like, I
Yeah.
don't know what else to do. Like I need to like plaster it somewhere. I don't know. I think I might need to revisit like a laminated one sheet that's like on the table with the key so that they can read the house rules again and like read the information. I mean, there's
Right.
still
Yeah.
quite a bit of like streamlining I could do, but
I feel the same way. I mean, everything that everyone gets here is all like a Google Doc. Like, read it. That's how you get in,
yeah.
you know? And like the people who are like, what's the Wi-Fi password? Like, the cell phone service is weird around here. So we can't like bring up the information. I'm like, but you got through the gate. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I'm with you on that. Like I think there probably should be some like and I hate printing things, but
Sorry, I thought I found a spider in my shoe. God, I'm just like blah 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 blah.
I'm like, what? Heather, what are you bubbling on about over there?
I'm trailing off, Sarah, but I don't want to have to go to FedEx and get like a paper laminated. Like it just feels like a lot of work, but I know that it'll help because you can put it on the front table where they get the key and they have instructions, and then you can also put it in their welcome email so they don't have any excuses. They've got
Exactly.
two
I mean,
ways that you're presenting it.
that's the thing that I've learned is that people just don't read instructions.
No, they don't.
It's like they want like, what's the address? How do I get in? What's the Wi-Fi password? And all the other stuff is something that I will be asked about later where I'm like, that was in your welcome letter.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
read it again. Biatch.
Reading is
but
sexy. Come on.
reading is so sexy. Yeah. Like, I don't care if you're on vacation. Read.
I
Read.
was like in the dark last night. My boyfriend turned out the light and he was really tired and I was kind of still awake. So I was like reading this long story on the New Yorker on my phone last night, and the lights were out. I just had like the light from my phone and I was so engrossed. I was like, I read for like 45 minutes and finished the story and it was so satisfying. I'm like, I have to carve out more time to read because it just, it just takes me to a new place, It just adds dimension to your life. I highly
It
recommend it.
does. It does. We talked some time ago about like, the idea of, gardening, and obviously Heather and I are like gardening more than we ever have in the past. But like
Nerds.
Sunset Magazine, when Sunset Magazine comes, I'm like, oh yeah. And I'm just like, I get in bed and I'm just like, okay, what's the first article I'm reading about sunset?
Totally.
Like, just like so much fun. But anyway, before we go on and on about stupid stuff, we want to remind folks that we are fully funded by our patrons. If you don't know about patreon.com/have such a good day, now would be a great time to consider directly supporting us. We really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything I appreciate more other than, I don't know, the animals or you, Sarah. You.
And on that note, if you are a patron and you want to join our Discord where we all chat with each other in between shows, it's really fun. It really so
You really should. No pressure, but you really should.
$5 per month. Also, you could, of course, contribute more, but that's all it costs.
Once you hit the $5, you get in, and you have to just ask us for a code, and we'll send that to you, and then you can be in our little world 24/7.
Yeah, and our Discord fam is the best fam. So
It's
thank
poppin'.
you to everybody who already contributes, and to anybody who's maybe thinking about it or whatever. It's we offer the show for free. We don't make you pay to listen to the show. But for direct supporters, just know that that's how we're keeping the lights on. So thank you.
Seriously, thank you in advance. We are so appreciative. And we got one little note from a patron, Allison P. She's referring to when we were talking about, this was a few episodes back, depending on, where you're at listening to things in order. But it was regarding the idea that I had to, as a backup career for me and Sarah, to create such a good detective agency. And she says, I would like to apply for a position in your badass bitch detective agency. I am known by my friends as an internet sleuth with an emphasis on people. Seriously, I have often thought I would have enjoyed being a PI. Maybe it is related to being a producer because she's also a producer. Resourcefulness, actually, I'm almost certain I would have liked it better than producing. She's so funny.
Oh, Allison,
we would totally hire her.
I get you. I totally get you. Yeah. So like, for anybody who's like, what are they talking about? A few episodes ago, I had this whole story about how I was finding my dog Otis's sister using a DNA dog tool that I had used online and that I had found them, and I was sort of like, but there were like, I don't know, like some twists and turns, and it was somewhat hard for me to like for sure find them, but I did. And I actually this is so TMI, but like there were many years ago where I had a boyfriend who did me dirty. and I knew about it because I'm a detective. And I confronted him about it, and he was like, whatever, we talked about whatever that was, and he was like, but like, how did you know? And I was like, I like looked him like straight in the eye, like very dramatic. And I was like, because I'm a detective. And he was like, okay, weirdo. Obviously the relationship didn't continue, but I know that I'm good at this, and I want more people that are good at this to be with me. So Allison, you are part of the agency.
Oh, dude, seriously, like it's a given. And I mean, there's been a lot of like sort of Nancy Drewing between you and me, Sarah, just over the last year. And, I think just we enjoy the process of like discovering something and investigating. So I don't
Yeah,
know, could be a fun, I don't know, like second career. But on that
it could
note,
be. On that note,
we have had so much
you
fun.
know, we really had so much fun. And just a reminder that if you have questions, comments, feedback, anything that we talk about on the show, we do like to hear from you. It really makes the show better. So please keep those feedback emails coming. hi@havesuchagoodday.com. And I think until next time, Heather, I will.
Sarah?
I will. I'll just go ahead and eat burritos and try to stay
Keep
alive.
on keeping on. I think that's good. And just never change Sarah. Always be Sarah. And I will remain Heather forever.
I'm glad to hear that. All right. Have such a good day.
Bye. Bye. Bye.